Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the Let's Get Gritty podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I'm thrilled to be here with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got a wonderful segment today, but before we get started, I want to make some announcements for you. The Let's Get Gritty podcast, it will be featured on Spotify and your main social media platforms. So check me out. You can follow me on social media at Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123, and TikTok is Dr. India White. Please check out my website whenever you get a chance at www.india-white.com to schedule me for an event or to check out the blogs, books, and things like that. I love to keep everything updated for you. It's always fresh. So check it out when you get a chance. I also want to remind you guys to check me out at many of these different engagements that I'll be speaking at. Thank you to everyone that has sponsored, to everyone that has supported and asked me to come and help out in your school districts or at your events. I'll be in North Dakota speaking there. I'll be in Florida speaking in about a week or so. I'll see you guys at camps in July. See you at NCSM. We'll be at NCTM and at ICTM and, of course, other different parts of the globe we will be at. And I'm super excited to just mingle with many of you leaders, you rock stars out there. If you're wanting to be featured on the show, please don't hesitate to email me at india.white.123@gmail.com. And so with that said, I want to get right into this amazing next guest of mine on the Let's Get Gritty podcast. This is a physician. She is a rock star. She is gritty. And I don't want to spill all the beans. So we're going to have a great time speaking with this amazing, amazing leader in her own right. And I'm going to bring her now to the stage. That is Dr. Aimee Duffy, the physician. How are you? Welcome to the Real Talk.
How are you?
I am great. Welcome to the Let's Get Gritty podcast.
Thank you.
So people don't know about all of your amazing rock star attributes. I mean, you've shared with me so much, but I don't want to give it all away. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Dr. Aimee Duffy. I am the founder and medical director of Carolina Integrative Medicine and Clemson IV Bar and Aesthetics in Clemson, South Carolina. I have owned this practice for 12 years, leaving the kind of traditional, big pharma medical system and opening up my own practice. In addition to that, I am a single mom of 4 amazing girls aged 14, 16, 20, and 23. So
Wow.
They're all cruising along in their respective lives and doing amazing. And I am a tennis champion. So we just played a big tennis tournament, state tournament this weekend, and we won. So we get to go on to the next level, which is sectional. So I play a lot of tennis, and it's all about just, whether you set goals, of course you want to play tennis and you want to win, but, you just kind of keep pushing, and that's what I connect with this whole grit, kind of thing is like, there's going to be aspects through your life, in my business, in my family, my personal world that are challenges. They definitely could set you back, for some people that could be a place to say, I'm done, I can't pursue this anymore. But for me, it just keeps coming, and I just keep saying, okay, the next one's going to make me stronger. And when I look back, over the last, particularly 5 to 10 years, the pushing through, the success, the confidence that it gives you, in the long run. And just, it's kind of like, what's the next step, right? You just want to keep pushing. So that's awesome.
Amazing. So we define grit. Dr. Angela Duckworth, she spoke and said that grit is having the passion and perseverance to attain a long-term goal. When did you first realize, like, okay, I know what that is, and I have this trait. I am gritty. What was there, like a specific event that took place in your life, or did you learn from someone else? Talk to us about your grit journey.
Probably started really early on. I mean, when I was a little girl, I just absolutely loved babies. I wanted to hold all the babies, and I had Cabbage Patch Kids, and with the bald heads, and I had all the accessories in their clothes. And when I was 11, we actually went to a neighborhood pancake breakfast, and there was like an 8 or 9 month old baby just sitting in the sand. playing, and I just went up and started playing with him, and he just laughed and giggled, and I laughed and giggled, and his mom was there, and she said, he just loves you. Like, you need to come hang out with us. Can you babysit for us? And I was like, I'm only 11. I don't think I'm allowed to babysit yet, am I? So anyway, it started this relationship of me, going to just play with baby while she got some stuff done around the house. That was at 11, grew into, being their family babysitter. She had more babies. Her sister had babies. So when I was 18, they were having another baby, and invited me to go to the delivery room and be with them. So I got to experience, my first baby delivery during this time. And, at one point I thought, am I going to be a teacher, pediatrician, something like that. Yeah. And I got to witness this delivery, and I thought, I want to be a doctor. I want to deliver babies. That's what I want to do.
Oh, wow.
I pursued that, went to college, went to medical school, residency. I have delivered over 1,000 babies in my career, including my 4 babies, and delivered my baby number 4 on my own in the hospital, but she came so fast that the doctor wasn't there. So I just reached down and grabbed her.
Oh, wow.
It just keeps going. And, if that's grit, I mean, it's just, I had a plan, I want to deliver babies, and that's what I want to do. And, what happened over time is that I delivered lots of babies, but when you're not on call delivering babies, you're doing women's health, right? And so then you start digging into all the issues women are dealing with, whether it's hormone driven, mood, weight gain, all kinds of stuff that women are going through. And I wasn't really thrilled with, what our traditional medical system was. Literally it was like, what birth control do you need to be on? What, antidepressant do you need to be on? Very little kind of getting into why are you feeling the way you're feeling, and how can I help you? So I started digging in back in the early 2000s into, more of the why, what we call the functional medicine, the integrative approach to why are people dealing with what they're dealing. And I learned about natural hormone balancing and more digging into thyroid disorders and adrenal dysfunction that led to how do we manage the gut, and how do we manage our neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. And, it was like just feeding me this, like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense when you get into it. And when I started working with my female patients on that level of what may be out of balance and disruptive, and let's correct that and bring that back to normal, then we had this amazing response of like, I actually feel better. This is working, and it's not just taking a drug that band-aids the symptom with a side effect. So then I wrote a book called Normal Doesn't Have Side Effects, simply to say, it's normal. We don't have to worry about that stuff. The medical system, the hospital system was going in one direction. My practice was going to get bought out by the hospital system. And I just knew that I didn't want to be confined to that and be employed, if you want to call it. So I decided in 2011 to open my own practice and just continue on this path. And it has just, led me to, I can't even tell you, if I sat down and thought I want to be a doctor, that this is where I would be, 25 years later. But
oh my goodness. I just feel like every woman needs to speak with you, especially you're talking about gut health, and, so many people are looking at weight loss, hormonal balance, and, all these things that it takes a lot of grit to get there, and people are really trying. And it is a little bit frustrating when you're doing everything you can, but it seems like, how do you overcome and remain gritty to make sure that you're getting the results that you need? So what advice do you have to women that they might be on this journey of trying to get themselves in their best normal state, and they're trying, but they're just either out of options, or they're just like, I just don't know if I have the grit to go on? What advice do you have?
It's absolutely frustrating and feeling hopeless, for sure. I see a lot of that in my practice. So for me, when I talk about weight, let's just talk about that for a second. And I mean, it can go anywhere really, but what I see is somebody who's struggling with inability to lose weight, or just, this weight keeps coming on despite what my efforts are. It's kind of 2 categories. It's either I know what I'm supposed to do and I'm doing all those things, but nothing's working. And so then it's like something metabolically is not happening, or I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm just too darn tired to do it. Right. So like, I don't have the energy to get up and go to the gym or get home from work and do some form of exercise. And like, I know I should be eating chicken and broccoli, but I'm just going to drive through because I don't have the energy to even process the grocery store to, fix something. Right.
That's real.
So what I love to encourage people, and I think what happens for patients, especially when they come in for their initial consultation and we kind of talk through what's going on, is that they feel validated, because so many women think I'm not good enough. I'm not trying hard enough. And you get stuck. I mean, the internet can be a beautiful place, but it can also be a scary place of what's the right thing for you. And, there's 800 different diets out there, and there's 800 different ways to exercise. And, you're trying to put this all together and figure it out on your own. And even as a medical doctor, I don't have all the answers, but I've figured some of this stuff out. Right. But if you're kind of not in the medical field and you're sitting here trying to figure out what's wrong with your body, it's really hard to do. So I encourage people to not give up, to, find a practitioner of some sort, whether it's a physician, a nurse practitioner, a chiropractor. There's a lot of us out there that are in this, what we call kind of functional or integrative medicine, that are going to start looking for why. And if you get discouraged, if you are trying to do the right thing and it's not working, then we've got to dig a little bit deeper. And unfortunately, I think what happens is you go to a regular doctor, and not to bash regular doctors, they're in their place and they're doing their best that they can do at the moment. But with the system, you get about 7 minutes in front of the doctor and they don't have time. They're just going to say, oh, you need to eat better, you need to exercise more, or, they can give you some sort of pill that may or may not work, or cause more side effects. Right. So it's frustrating because they may do a little bit of blood work, but most of the time the blood work's normal. It's not really something that's so far off that that's answering the question. So being able to dig deeper into what may be going on. Do you have insulin resistance? Measuring that. Do we have, something going on with the gut? If the gut's not happy, nobody's happy. So even if you don't have symptoms, I don't have abdominal pain or reflux or whatever, in an imbalance or something going on in the gut is going to lead to stress on your system. And that stress is not going to let you lose weight. So just don't get frustrated. I mean, you can say, okay, this path is not working for me. What's the next path? What's the next path? And what I see is people just giving up, saying, well, I'm just meant to be this weight, and I'm just meant to, live the rest of my life on the couch. And until they hit that rock bottom, and then it's like, something's got to give. So I've got to do something different. And
so I like your push for grit. Where do they start? So if they are on the couch, if they are over their BMI, which, significantly over, they just don't know where to start. They're doing their morning coffee. They have a desire. They're just at rock bottom. Where do they start realistically to get gritty and to take a step? Do you think the first thing is a doctor's visit? Is it intermittent fasting? Is it, what would you recommend?
Yeah. It's tricky for everybody because it's hard, it's hard to say we're talking to, thousands of people and, what's that one thing. But, one of the things that I talk about all the time is our food. Food can either be the best source of medicine or it can be the slowest form of poison. And so if we just had a conversation the other day and somebody said, oh, I'm going to try to eat healthier. I bought some turkey bacon yesterday. I'm like, turkey bacon isn't food. Like it's turkey, dyed and flavored to taste something like bacon. And like, that's not real. So even that thought process of what's healthy food, right, can be just skewed. I need to eat low fat. I need to eat low carb. I need to eat low this, that, the other. And like, if we could just get back to the simplest thing, which is just eat real food, you're gonna see some different things going on there. And it may not be weight loss. So, weight loss is a healthy consequence of what happens when we start to correct the underlying dysfunction. So weight loss may be a goal for you, but what really needs to happen is you need to give your body some space to not be so stressed out and to heal. And if we're constantly putting in these foods that are toxic, it's never getting a break.
Wow.
Start with just real food. I mean, eat your vegetables, eat your protein. Eggs aren't our enemy. You know, meat is not the enemy. It's all the toxins and the mess that goes in.
Never heard that about eggs.
Yeah.
Talk to us about eggs being the enemy, really.
You know, just eggs, you try to get, you know, there's a billion out there, but, you know, the cage free, the free range, whatever, just try to get stuff that hasn't been fed a bunch of chemicals. You know, everybody's, oh, my cholesterol's high, I shouldn't eat eggs. There's no studies for that. That's not real. Eggs are good protein. They're good source of vitamins and CoQ10, great for your brain, that kind of thing. So I would start there. And even though it's hard, you know, when you're laying on the couch and you don't feel good and all you want to do is eat your ice cream or whatever, like, you know, start looking at, okay, what, and maybe it's add instead of take away. So you don't feel that restrictive, but like, okay, I'm going to add, you know, more real food to my diet. I'm going to eat more vegetables. I'm going to eat more, you know, more protein. I think we do a lot of carbing and snacking and all these packaged foods that are, you know, gluten-free and fat-free and all that kind of stuff. It's just not real food.
This is so good. We need to hear this. I mean, I'm guilty. You know, I just celebrated my birthday and I had a wonderful vanilla cake with chocolate and cannoli and oops. So, you know, like,
you know, I mean, you're going to have special occasions. I mean, the whole goal is that you want to live life, right? But like, if you've heard the 80-20 rule for various things, right? Like if 80% of the time you can do what you're supposed to do and be perfect, then, you know, you can have 20% of the time where there's a special occasion.
I like that.
So that's step one. And then step two, I mean, there's so much out there, but again, you've got stressors on the inside if we've got all these chemicals going on, and then what are our stressors on the outside? So if you can move your body, then, you know, try to move. That doesn't mean I got to go join a gym and do a HIIT workout and, you know, like be exhausted, but just start moving. You know, if you could do 4 minutes of, you know, walking up and down the hallway or, you know, something like that throughout the day, just start moving, because not only is that about burning calories, you know, you're not going to burn very many calories walking for 4 minutes, but that does several things. It gets endorphins in your brain, so we feel better. And it also helps us to detox. The more that we move, we get our toxins moving, we sweat a little bit, then we're going to get rid of that stuff too. So, you know, if it just is baby steps, you know, let me just start moving my body. I call it conscious daily movement instead of the E word, which is, you know, exercise. Then, you know, that's the place to start. And then maybe you'll have the energy to say, okay, I need to look, you know, maybe I look for a doctor that does what you do, or, you know, I can dig a little bit deeper into which thing might be right for me. And, you know, intermittent fasting is fantastic. I don't disagree with that. And it works for a lot of people, but then some people it doesn't work for, you know, and so that's where it gets, you know, recognize that trial and error is part of life. You know, it's part of our health. It's part of our business. It's part of how we parent our kids, right? Well, tried that one with this one, didn't work with the second one, so I got to try something else. Like, that's where it becomes that grit to say, you know, I'm going to find the answer for what works best for me. And, you know, maybe it's intermittent fasting, but maybe it's, I need to eat every 2 hours. And, you know, I mean, everybody's different as to what their metabolism is going to be. So, you know, you just got to keep pushing through.
This makes me think of the very controversial, popular topic of, you know, do you take weight loss drugs or weight loss options out there, the big O, right? Like, what do you do? So what I guess suggestive advice do you have for people that are like, well, I want to do it, but I also want to check this, you know, maybe check out one of those GLP or whatever. What advice do you have about, I guess, the reality of it being realistic and doing what's safe and best for them?
Yeah. I love the GLPs. So, you know, even though I'm functional medicine, though these GLPs is what you're calling them, these medications for weight loss that are out there, are actually peptides, which means that they're these amino acid sequences that are kind of put together and cut specifically to have a job. And the reason I say that is that they're different than like a chemical structure, like a medication, you know, that's put out there that is like foreign to our body. So what these do is they come in and they actually reset the signals that have been misdirected for, blood sugar control. So these medications were originally designed for diabetics to help control blood sugar. And then what they found over their studies is that people were losing weight, in addition to improving their blood sugar. So they dug a little bit deeper and realized, okay, that's a lot for most people who are overweight are going to have some insulin resistance is the term for that. So you may have totally normal blood sugar, but you have high insulin, and that's driving a lot of this weight gain and dysfunction. So I love these medications. However, what I don't love about the system is that they could be used. I don't want to say the word inappropriately, but they need to be used on an individual basis as well. So one size doesn't fit all. There's different types out there. Some people can't tolerate even the lowest dose, and you may need to go lower. And some people may need a higher dose. And so it needs to be a conversation and kind of follow up. I've also seen people, patients that come in and be like, well, I lost 50 pounds, but I puked every day, for 6 months. And not the way you want to live your life. And I'm like, well, did you ever tell your doctor that? And they're like, oh no, because I didn't want them to stop giving me the medicine. So, you need to be able to do it with your medical provider or team that's going to be supportive and be connected to who you are as an individual and what your needs might be. So we can adjust the dosing. We can, add different, supplements, or making sure, the other thing is that there's no diet out there that's going to let you eat, McDonald's drive-through and pizza every day. So even if you're eating less, you may be losing weight, but you still have to put the right fuel in your body to function. So the people who are having a lot of side effects, whether it's nausea, whether it's fatigue, aches, body aches and pains, those are coming because of that stress on your system and the inflammation. So it's got to be coupled with, still the foundation of eating the right fuel for your body, in addition to these meds that can help, decrease your appetite. So you're eating less, which really is good, but making sure that you're eating enough. So the opposite, we see these people with what they call the Ozempic face, right? They're getting flat because they're not eating at all. And that's anorexia. So, that's not helpful either. That I'm being sarcastic. It's not really anorexia, but like you're taking this drug that decreases your appetite and you don't eat anything. And that's not healthy either. So it really needs to be coupled. I'm not against the med by any means at all, but it's got to be, it's got to be done correctly for you to get.
How long for? Some people are saying they have to stay on it for life, or do you recommend 5 to 6 months?
Yeah, I think, it depends on how much you want to lose, right? So, somebody who's just got, 20 pounds to lose can probably do that in 2 to 3 months. Again, I think because these drugs were initially designed for diabetics, generally speaking, most of the time, if you're a diabetic, you're going to get on a drug and it's working, you're going to stay on it. And that's, again, the traditional medical system thinks, well, that's working and it's controlling, so we should stay on it forever. Where, again, I think these peptides are corrective enough that this is not something that has to be a long-term plan. So if you're not diabetic and we're just using them for weight loss, as little as 2 to 3 months, I don't think shorter than that does the job. You're going to get some weight rebound if you do you do it for a month and then you go off of it again. But I've had, a couple patients that have been on it for over a year, losing 100 pounds and still having good results. A lot of patients who lose the weight they want to lose and then they go off of it, we kind of taper it down, again, making sure that we're supporting nutrition, supplements. That being said, there was a great study that came out. I did a video on it about a month or so ago that connected the fact that for menopausal women with weight gain who are on hormone replacement, they saw better results with these weight loss drugs for weight loss than women who didn't have hormones. So, we start putting all the pieces together. We do what we call bioidentical hormone replacements. That's a whole nother conversation topic we can go into, but, it's often not just a one thing, there's going to be other things, but these medications, I prefer the one that is the next level, which is tirzepatide, because I think it works better with less side effects. It's more effective, more expensive, but that's, you got to find that balance of do you want the Mercedes or do you want the Ford to get you where you want to go and get the results you're looking for. So I think it's worth the investment. I think it's worth the investment to find somebody who's going to spend the time and energy to do it with you. So they're not horrible, but I wouldn't go the cheap way, if we could offer that. They are a great kickstart, so if you are just, oh my gosh, I'm frustrated, I've tried everything. These meds are so helpful because you can see results with little effort, and that kind of gets you going, So if you lose pounds and you're like, okay, this is working now, where other things were working before, now I'm ready to move a little bit. Now I'm ready to pay a little bit more attention to what I'm eating. So I like them from that perspective, is it can be that kickstart to get you off the couch and get you moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Now they're saying that it also, women that have been on it for, I guess a longer period of time are starting to become fertile again. And they're starting to have this surge of babies.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty interesting.
I think it's because it's correcting the underlying dysfunction. Yeah. So infertility is going to go along with this insulin resistance, this imbalanced hormones. To me, I always go back to, what we kind of say the caveman days, like your body's first job is to survive before it's going to let you procreate. So if it's feeling stressed and underwhelmed, or overwhelmed, then you're not going to be able to procreate,
Right.
And so when this starts to correct some of that inflammatory response, some of that imbalances in the hormones, and the weight comes off, then you're going to be able to outrun the tiger if you need to, and do the things you need to do to survive. So then it's going to allow hormone balancing to come back more naturally. So we see that all the time. Yes.
That's great. I never have had a thought of outrunning a tiger, but I get it. Like, I think we're
running for tigers all the time. We got our calendars, we got the clocks, we got social media telling us, where we are and what we should do. And so there's a lot of work to be done here to say, okay, today's not the tiger that's gonna get me.
And that's the gritty part. And so, with that said, I want to get into another question about your profession as a physician, and you spoke about delivering at least 1,000 babies.
Yeah.
Wow. Like I the joy of seeing all those babies, right? Yeah. All those heartbeats, all of that, all the family dynamics, everything. Was there ever a time where, out of 1,000 babies, I'm sure there was probably a gritty experience where you're like, okay, I need to tap into my grit to be able to succeed in this. Do you have like a success story where grit kicked in and you were able to really help either a family or help a situation and really bounce back after, maybe a low rut? Do you have something where grit kicked in and for sure it was grit during one of those moments?
There's all kinds of moments like that. I mean, yes, the joy, the happy part. And that's what I loved about doing obstetrics for sure, is that it was fun medicine. People wanted to come to the doctor. They wanted to come to the hospital. Right. It was a positive experience. But, unfortunately, there are times when it doesn't have the best outcome. As the professional and as the provider, I mean, there were times when, as a mom, as a female, as a person, a human being, you go, I don't know if I can stay in this room, but there is nobody else to stay in that room to do, the job that you need to do for that lady and that patient that you've connected with. So there were definitely moments where you just have to kind of, I don't want to say the word disassociate because that sounds scary or intense, but like you do have to sort of take a moment and say, I can't get emotional about this because I have a job to do.
Yeah.
And I have to help this woman through this time. So, I mean, digging deep, I mean, there's times when, there's what we call a fetal demise where the baby, passes inside, but you still have to deliver this baby. And, that's a very emotional experience and you have a job to do. Or, scary things. I mean, I remember one of the scariest moments was we were in a small town here in South Carolina. And so we didn't have anesthesia in-house. So we're, during a delivery, during labor, and mom's pushing, and then we start losing baby's heart rate and it gets scary. We're calling anesthesia. We need to do a C-section right away. We've got her in the OR. We're ready to go, but the anesthesia's not there. And, we don't have time to wait. We're watching this heart rate just go down, down, down. So, with mom's permission, I'm going to give you some local lidocaine, but it's not going to work. And I mean, we just had to do, and man, there was some screaming. There was, some very intense adrenaline going on there, but baby came out, baby was fine. Saw mom later and she said, I don't remember any of it, thank God. And she was very grateful for what we did, because you just can't stand by and let something like that happen. So
I love that. I'm so thankful that you've done that. And that's the whole attitude of grit. Like what you're saying, it's like, you can't just stand by and settle for less. Like you have to execute. You have to make sure that you finish, like you persist towards the end. And you're at literally a life and death situation where you're modeling grit every day, every time that you're helping a family. You've been gritty. I mean, even in your own practice and what you've been doing to open your own practice is very gritty. So what are some nuggets of wisdom or some suggestions you'd have for people out there that are wanting to tap into their own grit, but maybe they're locked into fear? Maybe they want to open up a practice. Maybe they want to open up a business, or they want to start something fresh and they're just not sure. What advice do you have for them?
One of the biggest things that I think has helped me over the years, like I said, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, is I can't even start. There's two things that come to mind, and both are kind of coming from my mentors. So one, having a mentor, and when you look at even, I think about professional football players, or professional athletes of any sort, like they have coaches, they're probably the best in their game, obviously, but they still have coaches that are telling them what to do, or coaching, supporting them and watching replays of what we did and how can we improve. So, in a business mind, so I'm not only a physician, so I've had other physicians who have helped me and taught me, from a medical perspective, but as a business owner, you need to have somebody who's going to help coach you in your business, because I didn't know anything. In med school, they don't teach us about business, by any means. And so I had to learn the hard way. I filed for bankruptcy several years ago because I didn't know, how to do things the right way. And that was scary in and of itself, to be able to make that decision and not feel like it was a failure, and to keep persevering and push through that. So, finding a mentor, if you're going to start something new, find somebody who's done it before, and hopefully they can learn their lesson, or learn your lesson from them. And it's not always easy, because if you're starting from scratch, you may not have the finances to invest, but investing in yourself, and whether that means investing in that mentor, investing in some, support system or coaching or education, self-care, is such a big part of that too. So, it doesn't have to be a financial investment, but if you're not in the best place for you personally, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is, then it's going to be hard for you to be there for your people you're servicing, whatever that might be. So that's huge. And then the other thing is that I love the quote, that we hear all the time, but my mentor says all the time, is life begins where your comfort zone ends.
I love it. Yes.
If you're scared, then that's when it needs to happen. And, I can only say that looking back, I was, just being able to be here on, on video or speaking, I do a lot of speaking like you do, and on stages. And, I was the most shy kid on the planet. Like I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't do anything. You know, and to be able, and then what I realized, like, I was like, ooh, I want to go to be a doctor and I want to deliver babies. And then like, I go to medical school and you're in classes all day. Right. So then all of a sudden, like you get to the point where you're on clinicals and you have to go talk to people. I'm like, oh no, like I actually have to talk to these patients. Like, wait a minute, I didn't know I had to do that. So, you know, overcoming that, but from there, you know, one of the things that happens early on in my practice when I started, you know, this functional medicine approach is I had a patient who had a really rare autoimmune condition and was having a lot of difficulty physically, and she had a heart attack. And, you know, she was in the traditional medical system. She was on, I think, 8 medications. And she got to the point where like she was so weak. She had a musculoskeletal weakness, basically, that she could barely hold her head up to brush her teeth. And she lived by herself. Her son was overseas and she hadn't seen her grandkids yet because she couldn't travel, you know, to go visit them. And she had hired a caregiver to come to the house every day just to make sure somebody was there in case she didn't wake up. Like that was how low she was. Wow. And she found us through a neighbor of hers who was a patient of mine and said, you know, you need to go see Dr. Duffy. As we started dealing with what were those internal stressors that were creating all this stuff, you know, she got better and she got off her meds and she's amazing now. She's got, you know, 2 grandkids she gets to see all the time. She does all the things she wants to do. I mean, we literally saved her life. And what's so frustrating about that, we live in a small town. She could literally have walked to my office and she didn't know that we were there. And to me, you know, when you think about marketing for your business, it's not a business strategy. It is I can't help people if they don't know I exist.
Yeah.
So I go out and I speak and I'm on podcasts and I'm on TV and I'm on, you know, wherever I can be, because if nobody knows that they could get help, then they're not going to get help. And, so, you know, if somebody's listening to this in California or Texas or whatever, like, I'm not expecting you to call my office and come be a patient in Carolina. Like, sure, I'd love to see you, but it's, hey, there may be something else out there and maybe I can find an answer somewhere else. So, you know, I've touched that life. I've made the change for them, even if it wasn't me personally seeing them as a physician. So, you know, that's where some of that grit comes from is get out of your comfort zone. Cause I would never have been a speaker, you know, being on TV. Wow. Really, like, I wouldn't even know what to say, you know, and it just started to come through. And, so if you're sitting there thinking that maybe you should do something and it's scary, then you should do it. And, you know, maybe the first step is just finding somebody who's done it before and saying, hey, can you help me?
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Aimee, for your grit, your example, your resilience. And as I say it, the great resilience and time that you have embodied over all of these years, all those families that you have blessed. I hope that nothing but greatness happens for you. Thank you for the work that you do. And so with that said, we're going to wrap up the podcast. Where can rock stars out there that are listening, where can they find you?
They can find me everywhere. Aimee is spelled Aimee, Duffy, Duffy. So Aimee Duffy on Facebook, Aimee Duffy on Instagram. My website is aimeeduffymd.com. You can find me there. My business is Carolina Integrative Medicine. So we're also on all the social media and websites as well.
Now you said aimeeduffy@gmail.com is your website, or your
My website is just aimeeduffymd.com.
Okay. I'm going to prepare this for you guys so you guys can see this. There you go. That look good? So there's that. And then there was another thing that you had said that I want them to see. You said
CarolinaIntegrativeMedicine.com.
Okay. Carolina Integrative Medicine. So guys, do yourself a favor and check this out. Dr. Aimee is here to assist you on all of your different endeavors. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So CarolinaIntegrativeMedicine.com, you'll have all the things you need there. If you're looking for, I'm assuming a nutritionist, right? Looking for a medical doctor. She is a rock star. So please check her out. She's probably going to help me with my coffee cravings that I have in the morning. Anyways, so with that said, Dr. Aimee, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for just gracing us here with your presence on the Let's Get Gritty talk show. And I'm super grateful to have you. And we will be airing this out for you guys on all of the main social media platforms, as I said before. Feel free to email me if you're wanting more information about this episode, or if you're just wanting to check out other ideas regarding Dr. Aimee or whatnot. You can also check out the website, www.aimee-white.com, where this also will be featured. And so with that said, guys, thanks again for tuning in to the Let's Get Gritty podcast. And until next time, stay gritty. Thank you, Dr. Aimee. It was nice having you. See ya.
Take care.
You too.